Hi, you've called Damien Lloyd from Peard Real Estate in Leederville. Unfortunately, I can't take your call right now, but your call is important to me, so please leave your name and number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Yes, g'day. I'm speaking to hopefully Damien Lloyd's answering machine. This is Damon Eaton, co-host of the exclusive Stirling Saints podcast from the House of the Holy. Look, obviously your people didn't get in touch with my people and didn't make clear communications as to the exact time that we will call up and discuss and have this interview. Obviously, your time is very valuable. And look, I'll get back to my people and we'll try again in a couple of minutes and see if we can get this over and underway. I'll speak to you soon. All right, bye. Hello everyone and welcome to yet another edition of the Stirling Saints Football Club podcast from the House of the Holy. It's your insider look into the players and people who make our humble sporting club. I am your host, Damon Eaton, and this week I'll be flying without my co-host, Mr. Daniel Tilby, who is currently fighting his nemesis on top of an abandoned clock tower. Good luck to you, Tils. I'm not alone, however, as I have on the line our special guest for this week, and wowee, what a big superstar we've got this week. He is the first Stirling Saints player to kick 250 career club goals. A big welcome to the show, Damien Lloyd. G'day, Damo.
G'day, Damo. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very, very well, mate. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, mate. That's a fantastic introduction. I appreciate it.
No problems, no worries. Have been it's your milestones been the subject of discussion in bits and pieces of our past podcasts. So
I did pick that up. You guys are questioning it, saying can't be Damo. It's got to be that. It's got to be Matty Cowan.
Yeah, well, I was as surprised as anyone else. Well, not as surprised because of the achievement of what you made, mate. I did make that official apology last week in the podcast. So look, great full forward for us, a great player. Nonetheless, not just a full forward or a forward player, but just a great player for our club and just a great clubman you are. So, I mean, we've struck gold with Corfs and G and Matty Carlin for the last 3 weeks, and I just thought, well, let's change it up a bit and get a more senior, more authority with figure on the lines, and we managed to snare a big one in yourself. So there you have it.
I don't know about that. Hopefully I can deliver some gold like those blokes, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I know Matty said that he was a bit nervous about it, but he eased up on it as it went along, and G was. I think G was probably the more confident out of all of them to start off with. And, well, of course, we had all of us in the one room, the presence room, so it's a bit of a different scenario.
It's been, as I said to you before we started the recording, mate, it's been fantastic. I think you're doing a great job with all of this. And Matty definitely loosened up toward the end. He telling that story about Grassy, I thought that was bloody hilarious.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, look, on last Thursday, I mean, I obviously recorded, it's Wednesday night now, I recorded and I sort of quickly edited it together and I posted up on Thursday morning. That Thursday when I went to training afterwards, look, I don't know if Gracie was walking around wondering while everyone was giving him strange looks, but I couldn't help but I tried as hard as I could to disguise a smirk on my face when he walked by me and said, "G'day, Gracie, how you going?" And I don't know if he picked up on it. I don't even know if he's listened to the podcast. So, Gracie, if you listen to us, mate, we love you. And thanks for allowing Matty, even though you probably didn't want to let him, share that story on your behalf.
Yeah, you'll have to give him a firm handshake next time. Who knows where that head's been?
Yeah, I was going to say, be careful. I'm imagining it'd have a supple grip.
Exactly.
It comes with rave reviews. So I'm calling from the confines of my shed, mate. I'm sucking down a cheeky monkey Session Red IPA ale. I'll just do a quick plug for the Odin Tavern. I picked it up on the bottle shop there. They've got a great variety of beers. That's where I'm talking from right now. Where are you right at this precise point of time?
Mate, I'm holed up in a car. I'm out the front of Scarborough Pool because I've just was lucky enough to enjoy the delights at La Capanina, the new restaurant next to the Scarborough Pool, just opened up.
Right.
So that's where I am this evening.
Okay. And so decor, describe the decor to us, Damo, for us people, for us who probably will never go down there and have the money in this lifetime, certainly not with 2 kids on a single income to get it. What does it look like in there, mate?
Mate, it's really nice. It presents really well. It's obviously pretty popular because I think it's only been open a couple of days, and we couldn't get a table inside, and that's my only go up with it. It was bloody freezing out on the balcony. I didn't dress appropriately, and the wind was howling in. But food was good, drinks were good, company was good. So the setting, there's not too many places. I think it's great what they're doing with places like this, and you've got whatever, I can't remember the name, but Hamptons and whatever else is down in City Beach. Just a few options along the coast. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, I think it's there was always that fear that it's going to be, you're turning a great pristine place in Scarborough Beach to and the next Gold Coast, and a lot of different opinions and fears that went with that, and a lot of people. I think it's progress. You've got to keep up with it, and God, a good mate of mine who owns the actual the corner bar there.
Sandbar?
Sorry?
Sandbar?
No, on the northern end, just right next.
Ocean One?
Yeah, Ocean One, yep. Hiltz owns that, and I've seen him for a few years. So, and when Donna and I...
I've been kicked out of there before.
Yeah. Have you? Well, we'll get to that later. All right, yeah. So we're dropping a few locations there. I think it's just great that it's really developed and so forth. I mean, how much longer we're going to wait for the lookout, that site there to be closed for, was it 15 years before someone did something with it? And
absolutely.
Mate,
it's sensational what they're doing down here. It's going to be so good because there's nothing. Like along this north coast, it's not until you get to Hillary's that you've actually got some sort of dining and entertainment options along the beach. So I think it's really good. They need to do more of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough about the fantastic Scarborough foreshore. Yeah. Let's get to footy. This is a football show. Let's actually talk a little bit about that, Damo. Our wrap up of the last match, mate. Look, the streak's been snapped. We had 3, and we dropped that match last weekend against Carlisle.
Yes.
Now, what are your thoughts about that? You can start anywhere, which point of the game. You could start at the end of the game. What is your overall idea of how we think what can we learn from that game?
I think the biggest thing we can learn from that is mental preparation. It was one of those games, and you, having played a lot of footy, mate, would understand. You get to the game sometimes, and you can just tell everyone's flat. Like there was no feeling before the game, and it was nothing to do with the preparation or anything, the messages that were delivered from Kinga or whatever. It was just no energy in the group, and sometimes you can rock up and there doesn't feel like there's a lot of energy, and then you get out there and it all just sort of clicks. But it kind of felt that everyone had they'd rocked up and they just sort of thought after being 3-0, playing bottom of the ladder, and it was just going to happen, and it certainly didn't.
So pretty much it's that old line, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Was this a case that people sort of saying we can't, or that sense of body language from some guys that, we win, we lose, well? What was it?
It was definitely that. It was because there was just no energy in the group, and then we were sort of in the first quarter. I think we didn't play great, and we were in the mix. I think we might have even gone in a goal up after the first break, but there was definitely better run from Carlisle, and as they grew in confidence, they just continued to run, and the little bit of run that we had at the start continued to dissipate over the course of the game. And there was times where it felt like they had 5 more players on the ground. They just had open men all the time because we weren't moving and presenting and giving our guys options. And it was a pretty ordinary effort on our players' part, to be honest.
Sort of thinking of what to do next. Now the ball's out of my area. Where do I need to be next? So that anticipatory sort of sense of thinking, and
it was definitely like it's out of my zone. Forget about it now. There was no kick and give and sort of lead into the space and present, and the midfielders seemed to be a bit flat, and Yeah, it just wasn't gelling all over the field. I felt sorry for the defenders because it would have gone down. I don't know. I think they kicked 20 in the end, and it would have been a tough day down for the back six after them being so good for us in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah. So look, more of a wake up call. I mean, obviously, this what we put on the ground, I guess, last Saturday is certainly not a good reflection of who we are and how we can play. Certainly the side we've got in the league right now.
Absolutely not, mate. No, you're 100% right. It's not a. It's just a bump in the road, I think. As I said on Saturday night at the awards, I said to the boys that it's just a mental thing. There's not that big a gap, as much as we like to think after being 3-0, that we can just sort of go out there and it's just going to happen. You still have to deliver your best each week. Yeah. And the group that we've got, they can certainly mix it with anyone, but if they don't come to play, then they're going to get served. So that's what ended up happening.
Mm. So this is the sort of like, would you say it's good to have this slap in the face this early in the season, or would you have preferred another win to make it 4 in a row?
You know what? You always take the wins, but you know what? It'll be time will tell this week. We've got I think we've got Willerton this week.
Correct. Yep.
And they're another bottom half team. Mm. So if we respond well this week, I think it's not going to be the end of the world. But if we don't respond well this week and we sort of deliver up another result like that, then it's time for a bit of reflection.
Mm. Time to seriously gather up whether we really are here to play for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always have fun. It's a good bunch of guys that are down there. I wouldn't have come back so many. I wouldn't have been John Farnham every year saying I'm not coming back and then turn up again. But we always have fun. But you always like winning as well. That's what you're here for at the end of the day. I've never won a flag, and that's been the perennial sort of reason I've come back to think it could be this year.
Well, it's also too, I dare say, Dame, I think there used to be in the change rooms before we had them repainted, we're talking a long time ago, they used to have, and it's been toying with my mind, maybe bringing these back when we have the rooms reopened after the renovations, which to my mind should be finished anytime soon. We had these, yeah, about time. Had these little signs on their little mottos that used to be put on there that you'd sort of just become part of the background. But from time to time you glance up and you see them. And one of the ones there that I saw that sort of sticks with me was the idea of that success breeds success. And the idea, and this success can come in many forms. It may not be winning every game, breeding onto another game. It might be just what you achieve on a field that successful, you set a goal and you got it, despite what the end result on the scoreboard was, and that can breed onto something bigger and better. And when you mention that you have never won a flag, I think you wouldn't be alone. There are a lot of guys in our club right now for league reserves who are, coming along in their footy. They've been, in their 30s and none of them have seen a flag. And it's sort of like an idea where you just need, I hate to say, but would it be a case where I have never won a flag, maybe I'll never will, and we just accept it? Or is it up to like the new generation coming through just to give those older guys that extra boost, that youthful enthusiasm to reawaken you?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's what we're going to look to now at Stirling is the younger guys to really lead. And there are some of the guys that are stepping up, and you're seeing the change. Like G is certainly one. I mean, he's captained us the last 2 weeks with Fraggers out, and a couple of years ago, I'm sure he wouldn't have thought himself that he'd be captaining a league side. And yeah, he's coming through and he's really taking an onus on being a bit more serious about it. And it's serious in that, I mean, he's not serious about his footy, but he does the right thing and does what's asked of him, and that's as serious as it needs to be. But and that's what will breed success, I think. If you've got just small acts across a large group, whether that be committing to training or only having 6 beers instead of 12 on a Friday night, or just mentally preparing yourself before a game. Those little things, if you do those things consistently throughout the year, more often than not, especially in amateur footy, you're gonna have some success.
Yeah. Look, and like I said, it's probably this could be just a minor bump on the road, and it could be. I mean, like I said, only take the wins. That goes on to this next round where we actually play against Willerton, where the side that steps onto that field this round coming up is the side that, as it should be for the rest of the season, the side that's out there to play and out there to win, and not just accept whatever comes and to say, oh well.
Yeah, and I'm confident they will. I think all the boys were pretty disappointed with what happened on the weekend, and I think there's a hunger to win there. So we'll find out this week how much that is, and I'll certainly be reminding him. I'm sure G will, and Eddie and everyone else that's sort of been through it all. We'll be trying to get a core group that's geeing everyone up this week. That's for sure.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Which brings us to the next round, obviously against the Willetton Blues. I've got some stats for you, Damo. As from our evergreen and never in question source of all things statistical in one Paul Giamoff. We've met against the Willetton Blues 5 times in our history. And the ledger is 2 wins, 3 losses to them.
Could I even that up this week?
That's right. They the last time we played them was in 2000, so 2 years ago, 2016. And I do remember this when I read up on it. It's a close match. We went down by 14 points in the end. It was just a couple of kicks, I think, in the end. We were close, trying to catch up with them, I think, for most of the second half and keeping within touch. I think we took the lead at the start of the third, and then they got 2 points up, and we just couldn't quite break them. And then they kicked 2 in the end to put us down by 14. So I don't know how Willetton have gone these last few games. So for me, it's a bit of a mystery.
I think I haven't looked too in depth. I think they're on the bottom half of the ladder. On paper we should win. So, and we want to even up the score. We want to make amends for last week. There's plenty of reasons to try and take out the 4 points.
Yeah. Do we change much to our game plan for this game? Since, from an outsider who has not seen how the game has been as far as gameplay, has it changed much the last few games? I mean, King is obviously a man of great repute. He's been at the club for quite a few games. He's coming up to his 100th game for the club coaching. Do you see there'll be any changes in our side or game plan in addressing Willetton, or are we just going to stick with what we've done, and hopefully it's just the execution of the game plan that'll make the difference?
Yeah, I think, that's completely up to Kinga. But my take on it would be that I think it'll be the execution, because the drills that he's doing at training, I like the way he's talking about moving the footy, looking a bit more inboard, and the guys know where they need to be. But on the weekend, because of the lack of run, when you're under pressure and you're looking bored and there's no one there, then you're forced to go down the line, and we just weren't playing our brand of footy. So that, I think it's just going to be this week. I didn't make it to training last night, but I'm sure, I would think last night and Thursday will be about reinforcing that style of play, so that when we come into Saturday, that's what we'll do, because that's worked for us the first 3 rounds.
Yeah. Good. So you see the success in those 3 rounds, so you keep doing what's right and you reinforce the things that are your strengths, and you build on the things that you need to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and we just need the other part of our game we need to work on is across our half forward line. And I think we've always, or for a long time, struggled across there. We'll either have a centre half forward or a full forward, but we don't have both, where we've got that target across both lines. So we've got the manpower there. We just need to work a bit more on that style of play for those guys playing across that line.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to wait and see how we go for this next match, mate. It's a home game. It's I believe it's 2 big milestones. You spoke about Jared Proctor. G's 100th match, I believe, is this round coming up. So big milestone for him. I
was very impressed with the couple of cocktails that came out. What were they? The Lolly Molly and the cheese was a gin inspired. It was, I can't remember the name of it. What was that?
It's a Singapore sling for G, because he said he likes gin, so it's a Singapore G Slinger.
Singapore G Slinger, I like it.
And the Molly Lolly. Now I can't take credit for the names, but I know this is this actual idea of the cocktail of the round is actually the brainchild of Dennis. Of Dennis.
Oh,
yeah, Dennis and Wendy behind the bar, who does a fantastic job. So I think Tills might have had a hand in it as well. But the conceptualisation of this whole idea of the cocktail of the round, you can just look at Dennis and give him a pat in the back. I saw how he did it. Mate. Yeah, so I thought it's a great idea. It's good. hopefully it's, cocktails that also helps, make our female fans say, look, you guys, we're here to keep you here as well. It's cocktails are nice.
Absolutely.
And maybe some of the boys as well. They like cocktails. I'm a bit partial to a fruity tingle myself sometimes. So.
Mate, just kick the. I'm a fan of the gin, so I'll be trying the Singapore G Slinger or whatever it's called.
Well, you just made a modification to that G. Was the Singapore? I think we might have to modify that, mate.
I thought that's what you said, no, but I think Singapore is probably fairly, especially if you've got the G Slinger.
Let's see. Well, we don't want to lose our female clientele. We might be attracting a different type of clientele. If it's popular, I'll change it. So.
Fair enough. We'll go for click that like button.
So anyway, back to the milestones. And obviously celebrating G's 100th, and I believe it's Ben Mollett's. I mean, he's already a life member at our club, but it's his 200th match.
What a serviceman.
Yeah, very great. I mean, we've been counting it down mentally, and it's going to be a great match. I do have to ask, though, he played his 199 for the reserves last weekend. Did he actually play league as well?
He played league as well, so he's not stood up in the one day.
There you go. That's really good, because you could say, I don't really want to play my 200th match in an away ground, my second match in one day. And I guess that's testament to Molly as well. It says, it is another game, but it's a game that's valuable for me to play in the league. I'm needed there. Put aside my personal sort of wanting to play a 200 match. I'm going to play this. There was no questions asked. Then, of course, when we discussed this last week, Tills put it, I think, most succinctly out of anyone. He said Tills was playing celebrating his 150th for, I think, something like about 4 weeks in a row, because he kept playing away games, and eventually there was going to be a banner on the home game when he has his home game for his 150th. So let's just call it a banner match for Ben Mollett for his 200 games.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And I'll tell you what, for his second game last week, he was really good. He kicked a couple of goals, and I was impressed with Molly last week, and he was carrying as well because he had a sore hip, and he did well.
Well, hopefully for him, I just hope it's a memorable game and a great game for him this weekend. I'm dusting the boots. Well, I'm not dusting boots off.
Are you, mate?
Yeah, well, at the end of last season when I retired, Molly, because I didn't make an announcement about it, I just said, that's it. I already knew it was going to be my last game, but Molly asked me, said, look, you got to come back and play for my 200th. And I said, look, one game. So he said, but I've got no boots. So if anyone out there has a pair of size 11.5s or 12s and a pair of Stirling Saints socks, let me know.
Mate, I've got you covered in the boots. I've got a pair of boots you can use.
Beauty. Bring them to training tomorrow. I'll be on the track tomorrow to get a run into me and see what the difference is. So
I will do it. I'll bring them down for you, mate. No problem at all.
Wonderful. That's it. That's what we all like.
You might want to wear a couple of blister pads, because I think I've only worn them once and I stopped wearing them because of the blisters.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll sort that out. But dare I say it, I'll probably only be wearing them once. I did say I was retired. I'm done. But that's it. Cameo. I know your brother Jez has been saying, yeah, I'm retired too. I've been playing for the last 4 years.
Yeah. So
it happens. But let's talk about you, mate. Let's go to the origins of your football journey, mate. Let's talk to us about Damien Lloyd's history of football. When did you start? And talk us a bit about how you came into playing footy and how you entered through the great doors of our club, how you came to start at our club.
Okay, I started, so I'm from Boyup originally, and down there, so my dad was, he's got the club games record holder down in Boyup. Wow. And so he was right into his footy, and my uncles, and it was, in country towns, sport is such a big thing. Mm-hmm. So I'd always rock up. So when Jeremy started playing under 11s, I'd always rock up each week as a sort of a 4 and 5 year old and 6 year old. I'd rock up with my bag every week and say to the coach, I'm ready to go, but you're not allowed to play until you're 9.
Yep.
But being in a small country town, when I was 6, they finally said, well, we don't have enough, so you can pull the boots on. So I started playing when I was 6. Mum actually she couldn't find a pair of shorts small enough and had to alter them to take them in. And that's how I started. And then I used to play under 11s, and then when I turned 9, I started playing under 13s on the same day. And then when I was 11, I'd play under 11s, under 13s, and under 15s on the same day. So I got a fair bit of footy in as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, geez, sounds like. I mean, so you talked about Boyup, because I didn't actually know that you were originally from from, well, I guess the country, I guess. I always figured that you were sort of around...
Mate, I lose country. What do you mean?
Sorry, mate.
No, I get it all the bloody time. Everyone says, I didn't realise you're from the country. But yeah, I'm a country boy. I went to boarding school?
Yeah, I do know you went to
Hale.
Boys. For those listeners out there, Jeremy and myself and Damo, we didn't I already knew that Jeremy and Damo went to Hale School. I went to Hale School as well, but I didn't actually realise it, or they didn't actually realise this until a few years ago. So, but yeah, I mean, there are obviously day boys that go there, so I figured you might have been a day boy. I don't know. So.
No, mate, no, country through and through.
Yeah. So were you a boarder there?
Yeah, I was in Lowton. Were you in Lowton?
Bullshit.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
We've had this conversation. You're obviously full of piss.
Oh, no. Look, I'd like to say I am, but this is...
We're both sons of the soil, mate.
Holy crap. Oh, geez. Well, there you go. Oh, my God. Oh, geez, that's embarrassing. That's live. That's on radio too, folks. You know, I'll have to go to my engineer and make sure he edits out a bit of this, so save a little bit of egg off my face. So. Oh well, there you go. Oh,
yeah, well. No, I'd years 10 to 12 in Lowton.
Well, there you go. You know that house obviously doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It's obviously completely changed as it does because of the school and the nature of the money that flows through there. Everything's getting done up every second year, pretty much.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous, isn't it? The facilities that they have.
Oh, it's incredible. It's the best in the state, pretty much. So. Yeah. So when you came to Perth and how did you start in Stirling? What drew you to? I know Jeremy there first before you came and just sort of followed suit.
Yeah, Jez was there, and so I came down through him because I had a bit of a stint off footy. I did my knee playing at East Perth, and then I stopped playing for 3 years because I did it pretty badly.
Oh right.
And then I ended up going to training down because Jeremy was at Bassendean, and I thought, I haven't done anything for 3 years, so I'll just go down and train and just have a bit of a run around, but I won't play. But as you do, you start running around again and you get the itch. And I thought, it doesn't feel too bad, so I'll have a kick around there. So I played there for a season, and then Jeremy made the move to Stirling. So I came down to Stirling.
Beauty.
So,
were you part of the paid players, like for the country? I know where there's a lot of Perth players that get, I know Fraggers have done this where they get lured out to playing in country teams and so forth. I mean, was that ever shaken towards your end and played over somewhere, maybe back at your own stomping ground, just to play back there? Or?
Yeah, so I went back to Boyup and played a couple of years there, and then I played a year in Pinjarra after that because it was a bit closer than the 3.5 hour trek to Boyup each week. So yeah, I did the 3 year stint in the country, that was a lot of fun. I had a good time doing that.
Yeah. What was the driving like? I mean, it was still Saturday games because I know the Mortlock League where I played in Dally. I wasn't a paid player; I was a local. But just doing the drives and so forth. We played on Sundays, and I know a lot of the Perth players who came up, like Mick Evo and even Joel Edwards. I played a couple of seasons alongside those guys in Dally.
Yeah.
So, but I always wondered, oh my God, you come up and you play a late game sort of in the afternoon, and as you know, every man and his dog in the town, that's a social function. It's a social fun hub. Everyone's there.
Absolutely.
You've got to stay around for a drink, and then you've got to make your way back down to, back to Perth and get to work the next day, all in, battling the temptation of having a few too more than what you should have and driving on those country
we'd
roads.
Always carpool, so we had some. That was part of the fun of those trips was you'd have. We'd quite often try and become wizards on the way back, drink our Heighton cans. We'd get a block of Export or VB or whatever, and then we'd have a good fun trip on the way back. And the poor soul, we'd just rotate the driver. They may or may not have had a cheeky one on the way back as well, but they definitely weren't in the spirits that the rest of the passengers were.
Was there, let's see, I'm thinking there might have been, you're pretty much driving every game, even the home games, you're driving to a ground. So, were there any tricks of the trade, how you could sort of get out of doing your shift of driving or lessen the involvement? Was there any?
Well, 1 year I had a really good trick where I lost my licence, and that was pretty. I didn't have to drive at all, but so that took my duties of driving away.
Okay.
But so the other boys were a bit dirty about it, but I was the one that first year, I think Jeremy organised it all, and then after that, I became sort of the organiser of the players and what have you, so I could pull the strings where I didn't have to drive.
Yeah, well, there you go. And what was the year? So I'm going to move quickly past the driving and so forth and the country footy. Really enjoyable footy, obviously, country footy. I mean, it's great fun. I mean, you came back to Perth. You played back at you played at Stirling. What year did that happen? How old were you when that happened? That's obviously after a major knee opera. Or did you have a knee op, by the way?
Yeah, so I had a full recon.
Oh wow.
And so I did the ACL, PCL, LCL, which is why I wasn't going to play again.
Jeez.
And then I came to Stirling originally. So there was a year there where I went travelling. I don't know. It must have been like 24, I think, that I came to Stirling and played a season.
Yeah.
And that was when Rocky Jerome was there. And then we went down the country for 3 years. So it must have been 27, 28. And then I've come back to Stirling since I was about 28, I think. Right. Is that? No, that can't be right.
No,
must have been a bit older.
That sounds actually pretty close to it because I came back at 2003, but I was playing. I started, I think, partway through the season, but I do remember that Rocky was there and he was there for 2 seasons, I think, when I played there. And I do remember we had a pretty good crack that 2004. A lot of players came through, so you must have been there. So I'm thinking pretty close to it.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, but I think, I must have, because I'm just trying to think, if I came back at 28, now I must have been a bit older because I can't have been at Stirling for 8 years.
Maybe it's just the years flying by, mate, and you just lose.
Maybe it is, mate. Who knows? Who knows? But, it's something around that timeline, and once I came back, I do look at it because when I came back from the country, one of the boys, a good mate of mine, who I took down to Boyer, and we came back, and he went to uni, so A grade club, and he went on to win 5 flags, and I went down and trained with him, and I thought, I'm going to go back to Stirling.
Yeah.
And he's won 5 A grade flags, and I've won.
Yeah.
Diddly.
Well, waiting for the first to turn up.
I've made some good mates.
There you go. And you never know. I mean, we're 5 rounds now coming up. There's still the books are still yet to be written there, Damien.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Last time we played C grade, we did. We almost got there.
Yep. Yeah, actually, those last 2 games, the last qualifying final for the GF was one of the best games of footy I've ever seen.
Yeah, the one against Kingsley?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
That was a cracking game, wasn't it?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, you were on the field playing. I mean, how good was that when that last quarter? I mean, did you feel the surges of motion when you're playing? I think that was
one of the best wins I've been involved in.
Yeah.
It was just a feeling. It was the boys stuck out. No, I think I'm hopeless with my memory of games, but I think we came from behind, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
We did. I think it was almost a carbon copy of that final and also the grand final. I mean, as a spectator, you couldn't have had 2 more thrilling matches. We were fighting hard in that first half, but we were just trailing. We couldn't quite bridge the 3-goal gap, I think, for the first half. And I think at the start of the third, it was much the same. But something was happening across our half-back line that was really starting to gel, and we had a couple of players in our midline. I think Cam started to fire up as well. We're getting some guys who are getting the ball, willing to take on some blokes and one-on-one and run around them, and a couple of great goals. And all of a sudden we're within 2 points. We just had the momentum, and then the fourth quarter, same thing. It was a seesawing affair, a bit of an arm wrestle at the start. I think they kicked the first in the fourth, and then we just went over top of them and kicked the next 2 to win it. And I think Cam Grover got a free kick right near where we were on the far side of the club, the opposite side of their club, right in front of our supporter group. And there's a free kick to us, and no one stood on the mark, so Cammy quickly played on, kicked it from 45 from tight angle, and slotted it straight through.
He did too. I do remember that. And there's nothing better than beating Kingsley at Kingsley because they are the worst support. Well, them and Kingsway are going to be some of the worst supporters going around.
and a cheerio to all our valued listeners over there at Kingsley.
Well, it's probably because they are well supported and they get good crowd noise. I think we've got great supporters, but we just don't tend to get that atmosphere of that the real crowd involvement.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on, mate. Let's talk about that milestone of yours. Let's talk about the 250 goals.
250 matches, I would have made the top 10. Actually, before we get into that, so I saw that top 10 that the esteemed Paulie Giamoff put on today for the most league games.
Yes.
And so there was Adam Edwards and Fraggers, obviously.
Yep.
But Molly's coming up for his 200th. How many of those are league games? Because I think Eddie was only on 167.
Yeah, look, that's... oh, geez, Damo, you're dancing with
I'm
the
not
devil,
questioning I'm just playing with fire there, but I just noticed when I saw the 200-game milestone, because Molly...
Oh,
he would have played all of his games. So then I wondered, was it 200 amateur games? Has he played for another club?
See, at the risk of throwing myself under the bus once more, Damo, I'm just going to say, look, I agree with you. I think if you look at Molly's career, you'd say league player. I mean, the numbers are just going to show that he's played more games in league than any other side. It's only just very recently he's just said, okay, I still want to play and enjoy footy in reserve. So, look, I think you have a point there.
I'm not going to bring it up.
You have a point there. This is the sort of show that does not... Look, we are happy to celebrate everyone that in our club that does things, but we're not just going to keep patting ourselves on the back. We will continually putting ourselves under the microscope. And if it means me coming up next week after a heated text message from Paul Giamoff having to make another public apology, then so be it.
If I've got one beef to bloody pick with Paulie, I tell him every week. I try and take a hang for him, and he never gets it on camera.
Although, actually, you know what? I think he got a really good photo of you last week, Damo, if you know what I'm saying.
He always gets you in that Homer Simpson bloody retard look. That's what he always gets.
Yes. Well, you know what? Look, the camera never lies, Damo, you would say. It must be...
Mate, I've looked at those photos and I thought, I haven't got a problem when I'm kicking the ball. I've got to change my look.
Oh, look, I have to say, there's no justice. The camera, there's no justice, I guess, because, Paulie and Lisa, his lovely wife, sometimes takes the helm of the camera when Paulie has to do some running. And they do. I mean, their photography is absolutely off the charts.
They do an amazing job.
And I've said it before, I mean, nothing makes you feel, a little bit of sense of pride. And look, I have to admit, a bit of narcissism as well when you see that photo of yourself on there and you think, geez, did I just give that guy the no-nonsense stiff arm? Look at him, I'm looking away. I look good there. So, but there's... You
had the two-finger Jedi stiff arm, if I do recall correctly.
That's right. The dude had a silly haircut. I thought, all right, I'm just going to fuck up your bicep there, mate. You can see there was not even conscious, not even looking at him. I'm just looking ahead and seeing what I'm going to do next with this ball. So, but enough about me. But yeah, look, the photo I had in question, yeah, there's you kicking, but Tills and I mentioned it, I think it was last week. Look, the photo that was on this website too, it's you taking a mark, it's front and centre. You've got another bloke who's sort of coming up behind you trying to spoil, but you've got hands, your mitts all over it. It's a great, strong, solid mark. Dare I say it, a signature of yours. The only thing that's probably missing is you sitting on the shoulders of someone else having a half-forward line. But closer inspection of this photo, Damo, and to all our listeners out there who happen to come this far and still tune in with us, I want you to go onto the website right now. I want you to find the archival photo. I want you to find that photo of Damo that I've been speaking about, and I want you to see where that opposition player's knee is placed. He is absolutely fair rodgering you up the court with his left knee, I believe. And I think it's had somewhat of an effect on you, Damo, because while you haven't dropped the ball, your eyes are obviously still on the ball. But there is a certain, look, it's undeniable, certain bulge in the front of your trunks in that photo, mate.
Got me a bit excited, you reckon?
Well, like I call it how I see it, mate. I mean, I look at the photo there. It looks good. So right now, there's probably everyone just pausing on this podcast. Let's just get that open and have a look at that photo. Have a look at the front trunk region there of one Damo Lloyd. You'll find that, yes, under all sorts of challenges, still got his mitts on the ball. So there you have it.
Maybe I'm just a shower and not a grower.
There you go.
We've all had a shower. No one knows that's true.
Look, I won't say anything if you don't. A bit late now.
Hey, I'll tell you, that is, on a side note, that is one thing I'm dirty about. They're installing bloody, in this renovation, cubicles.
Yeah, look,
absolutely filthy, mate. There's nothing better than standing there having a beer with the boys after a game.
Yeah. Oh, look, yeah, look, look, I see that we're not the only ones who are going to be using the club room, change rooms as well. There are other things that are happening there, so I think they put that in mind. It's obviously not a design decision from us at the club. In fact, when they finally brought it to us, the committee, via Paulie G, about here are the plans, here are the renovations, when we had the committee meeting, it was just basically Paulie G after the usual openings. Here it is, guys, there's the plans. Oh, okay, nothing in it. When's it starting? 2 weeks' time. Holy crap, we're starting the season in like 4 weeks, so when's it going to be finished? Yeah, it's going through. So we have the headache that we have at the club rooms. Now,
fair enough.
As far as, we better have it done anyway, so, but yeah, the timing, pretty piss poor, as we know. But as far as the design, yeah, divided cubicles, I don't know. I haven't really put much thought to it, Damo, to tell you the truth. Look, I agree with you. There's nothing better than, you're sitting around having a beer and just chatting away and so forth. With the cubicle, it sort of obscures that. You can hear the bloke, but it's just not the same. So
no, it's not. It's not. But that's. If there's other clubs, so what is there going to be? Oh, we don't want to get too far into that. That's a conversation at the club that we'll have another time. We'll get back onto the fun stuff.
Well, I do want to talk about your 250 goals, Damo. Look, I mean, you were one game. Well, it really was 4 goals, I think, in that last game. When you actually kicked your 250, you needed 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that was the carrot that got me. Well, that wasn't the only reason, but that was one way that I justified it to myself to come back and play again, was to hit that milestone.
Well, let's face it, Damo. I mean, individual milestones like that, whether it be games played. Look, I'm coming close to my 50th, my 100th, my 150th. I mean, let's face it, if that's what keeps guys at the club and keeps guys playing and playing well, then so be it. We should celebrate individual achievements. I mean, and this is one of the best that you'll have out at our club. I mean, 250 goals. That was obviously weighing on your mind. How much was it of a factor for you? Were you nervous before the game started? Do you think this could be the game where I'll get it? I
wasn't. I didn't think about it much. I didn't think about it at all before the game. I think G brought it up. I don't know if he brought it up on the podcast, but he definitely brought it up when at our fines system, because Tony Mirabello, our esteemed previous coach, who is a great bloke, he tackled a bloke and definitely did the lion's share of the work in this tackle. But it was the end bit where I came over and just sort of locked him down that got the holding the ball. And as soon as the umpires bloke, so I'd kicked 3 at this stage.
Right.
And this was well within scoring distance. And as soon as the umpire blew the whistle, because the ball had spilled free,
right,
and I just ran over and grabbed it and the umpire's given it to me.
I'll take that. Thank you very much.
So Mira was a bit dirty, thinking that I'd taken his free kick. But I justified it saying, well, that was for my 250th. But I got very nervous because I knew I'd taken potentially his ball, and I got nervous in that situation, and then ultimately missed it. And I'm not normally one to succumb to nerves, but
you didn't.
We got there in the end.
Yeah, you didn't succumb to nerves. I mean, you had more pressure on other things, including your own teammates, sort of like that. And look, let's face it, Mirror's he's a very, very good player, and he would have probably, I would say, he's in the forward line for a reason, would have probably slotted himself. So, yeah, he probably thought it was in the safest hands apart from himself as well, so why not? He's a fairly selfless bloke from what I understand. He's a very straightforward sort of bloke, the way he delivers, obviously, very driven, very goal-oriented sort of bloke, and that's certainly in his footy as well, which is what we needed from, I guess, the last 2 years. And I think he's re-injected a bit of that into our side, and good for him to come and play for us as well. So to say that, it's good to set goals. You need to have your goals. You need to have these sorts of things to go for. And you took you took his. So
so got there, and then after that, I was going to run a Masters schedule, I thought, and just play every second week. But because I pulled up very sore because I didn't do any pre-season, and now the body's starting to recover a little better. So when I don't have the kids and I don't have work, I'll play.
Done. 300 goals?
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah, let's see. This season, if we keep having winning streaks of 3 in a row, surely there's going to be goals on the board. You'd want to be amongst it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, if it's got to come down to how many games I can play. And obviously if we're winning as well.
Yeah.
So I should be able to get 50 odd if I play majority of the games. We'll see, hopefully, and that means we're winning.
That's it. That's yeah, absolutely. That's what it means. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about you being a main focal point in the forward line. We're going to slowly segue into the more of a looser stuff. We sort of touched on some looser stuff. Who are some of the other forwards? I mean, you're obviously a key target in the forward line. Who are some of the better players or the best players you've had played alongside within the forward line that you think is either a good tandem with yourself or even a good foil for yourself that, whether it's the same sort of style of player as you, with, bursting through packs, high flying and taking a strong mark, or running the spaces and opening up opportunities. Who would be your ideal full forward line to have next to you?
Some of the really good forwards that I've played with, I'll say, because I've played a lot of my early footy at Stirling. I played in the middle, so I only started playing forward later. Kirsch was a sensational forward, and he's been spoken about in one of the previous podcasts, but he just had an uncanny ability to just pop up. I used to call him the pop-up sprinkler because he just pop up in space and could kick goals. I would have liked to play alongside him because he's that smaller sort of wily type that can get around and will get. He could take a good grab as well, but also would clean up along the ground. Eddie, I really like playing with Eddie because we've got a good. If he's bringing the ball inside 50. He'll always lock eyes, and that's what I like when the ball's coming in. If the player locks eyes with you, you feel like you've got a connection that they're going to put it into the space, so you don't have to telecast where you're going to lead. You can they'll kick it to where you want it to go, and you can just run onto it. That's the easiest.
Yeah.
So he's really and as a forward in his own right, he's a jet as well. Fraggers, a couple of years ago we played together. And we worked really well together in the forward line. He's a sensational backman and probably a better back than he is a forward, but not too far off as a forward compared to his backman abilities. He's just a good player anyway.
Yeah, good. I mean, there's his elevation just defying his age. He's got a good elevation too. He's one of those guys that takes great marks, despite the size of who he's playing against. He can lock a leg on someone's shoulder and take a good mark anywhere. So that's always good to see. Bit of a highlight package. So you'd have to say those four would be your Mount Rushmore, including yourself. Yeah,
those the other two I'd probably say. I quite enjoyed playing with Mirror, because he was probably a bit more selfless than I am in the forward line. He'd be the one putting his hand up to block and do a bit more of that sort of stuff as well. And we played a different style of game. He liked that sort of lead out sort of stuff, which I don't mind as well, but I quite enjoy a contested mark and whatever, so he would lead out and lead me deep and those sort of things. So he was good to play with. And the last one I'll say would be Jez, just because he's one of the better forwards that I've seen have shots at goal and things like that. I always enjoyed, especially when I was playing in the middle, I used to get criticised for it a bit, looking for him too often, but but it was similar to what I described with Eddie. I knew how he played. We played so much footy together, and I knew where to put it to his advantage, and he'd make me look good.
Oh, beauty. So, I mean, we have this hypothetical question towards the end of each interview, Damo. I'm going to throw it to you. Look, it's the grand final after the siren shot at goal. I mean, your name pops up, obviously. Out of those guys, they're all very, very good players you've got there. You mentioned, which one would you take the grand final to win the grand final after the siren shot from 40 metres?
If it was out of all those ones,
or anyone else that might not pop up there that you hadn't mentioned.
Back in his playing days, I would have said Jez he's a very reliable shot on goal. I saw him have a shot on the weekend playing twos, and it was terrible. So I wouldn't say him now, but back then, he was a very reliable shot on goal. Current crop, I'd say probably Eddie.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of experience and wouldn't have. He'd probably be nervous, but could deliver on that.
Yeah. Okay.
They're probably the two. Kirsch was a really good kick at goal. He'd be another one that you'd put in that mix, I'd reckon.
Yeah.
And apparently Matty Cullen, I never saw him, but he must have been a jet. Anyone that kicks 100 in a year.
Yeah. It was. I was as a young colt who was just sitting back and watching, and also playing the odd one or two resis as well. You'd change. You'd sit behind the goals at the home ground where he was playing on that season, just because you knew that there was going to be action aplenty. And even if it was on that northern end, you'd go around the other end where the big hill is and that leads down the runoff. You'd go towards there just to check it out. And plus also just to retrieve the ball and get it back in the field to have it happen again. So it was a remarkable season that season to watch him play there. But it was just such a massive unit, athletic and intimidating. So I think he had half of the opposition scared shitless by the time he stepped in his full forward line, just by reputation and by size. So
yeah, I can imagine.
And then the skill just cemented it. So yeah, he was very, very good. G'day to Matty if he's listening in. All right, so since you talked about Jez as the kick, we're going to play a game. Tills and I were discussing what can we do to talk. We're going to play a little game here, Damo. We're going to play a game that's called Who is the Better Brother? Okay. Who is the better brother? All right, so I've got about three pairs of brothers here that you are familiar with, and look, you're going to come up with some reasoning. Who is the better brother? Now, look, you can say better in football. You could say better as socially, drinking, whatever it is. You could say better as anything else, and I'll throw it to you. So the rule is you decide first which of the two is going to be the better player career-wise as a footballer. And then you're going to come up with another category to counteract that other brother who was not awarded that, was better than the other one for something else other than football. Okay. You got me here?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Well, let's start off with. I would start off with you and Jez, but I'm going to start off with the Edwards brothers. I'm going to start with. There's three of them, but I'm going to start with. I'm going to forego Dane. It's obviously Adam or Joel Edwards. Who's the better brother?
Oh, if you're talking footy, that is a bloody tough question because they are both superstars. And different sorts of players. Joel he's one of the best midfielders I've seen. It's a shame he wasn't a foot taller. Just grabbing and just getting the ball out, feeding the ball out. And then if you had Adam receiving it, you've got a superstar receiver that could just deliver the ball forward. Did they both win an association medal?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I know Adam won a C-grade association. Yeah. I think Joel might have won one as well.
Yeah, Joel did. Yes, he did.
And if you take out Joel's reserve medal, I think that they've both won the same amount of BNF. So it's a very difficult one to pick.
Well, this is why we crunch numbers on this one, Damo.
I would say... Shit, mate. You should have left that one to the end. That is one of the tougher questions.
Well, we can come back to that later.
I'm not going to be able to split them, but...
Well, here's something else you could try to counteract it, is what is the other category for the better brother? All right.
Well, we'll say Joel in the footy, but it's a very close match.
It's a and
then we'll say Adam is the best you've ever seen at just... getting a lead pass to go out and do whatever he wants, go out with the boys, get on the piss, and he's a great bloke socially.
Okay, done. Good one. You solved it. Well done. You got there. It's hard. All right. Okay. Well, let's try this. Well, Matty and Josh Carlin.
Matty and Josh Carlin.
Yep.
I'd say Matty is a better footballer.
Yep.
They're both great blokes. I don't know Joshy that well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to feel like I'm stitching him up a little bit, but Matty socially is an animal, as you would have heard last week on the podcast. He's a lot of fun. I'm sure Josh is a lot of fun. I just haven't had as much to do with him, so if he's listening, I apologise, mate, but I'm going to pick Matty on both.
So you would say maybe Joshy's the more sensible one?
Well, I couldn't even confidently say that because besides seeing him at the odd training session that he gets to, I haven't had a great deal to do with him. But he seems like a good bloke. But I haven't even seen him much on the gas or anything like that. But if he's anything like his brother, he'd be an animal.
better at overcoming injuries. He's had a few of them.
Yeah, actually, well, if you're talking about the better one at being injured, I'd say Joshy.
There you go. Okay. All right. Well, I would normally. Well, geez, were you familiar with the Tassett boys? I was going to throw Adam and Wade in there because I know you probably wouldn't have been familiar with either one of them. So
I know Wade Tassett.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I know of the Tassett name.
Yeah.
But I don't actually. I never saw him play, and I don't know them overly well.
Yeah, it's the game we usually play with. I'm cousins with those boys, and so it's oftentimes in our social circles. There's always that throwing around between Adam and Wade, and unfortunately, the middle one, Troy, as vocal as he is puts his two bob worth. So I just thought I'd try that one there. But okay, we'll go. We'll wrap it up with yourself and Jez, the better footballer, and who's the better at the other at something else.
Jez is better at wearing rashies.
Okay.
We went on holiday to Bali, and he's trying to get in the pool with a rashie, and I said, mate, you're not that old. Just you don't need to wear a rashie here.
Is it a vanity thing? Is it a vanity thing, or is it just he likes rashies, a fashion statement?
I think he's a little self-conscious. He blown out a little bit and was a little bit self-conscious. But we're in another country. No, he didn't know anyone there. Just get it out. You're not going to get it. He's always complaining about reckons he can't get a tan, so he's not going to get it with a rashie.
Okay, so and by default, you've just named yourself the better footballer. So there you go.
Say again?
And by default, by saying him wearing the better rashie, you've pretty much named yourself as the better footballer, don't you?
Well, yeah, I've got to claim it.
Guilty. Who's the better at karaoke?
Jez, for certain. Mate, loves karaoke.
Yep.
Absolutely froths on it. And there is a very funny video of he just went up to Coral Bay.
Yep. Oh.
And they have a Saturday night karaoke up there.
Yep. At the bar there. I know the bar very well, yes.
To a packed house, he's trying You're the Voice, and he was certainly most not the voice. And it's got him. He sounds like a teenager whose voice is breaking. He'd had a couple of sherbets.
Yep.
And wasn't delivering his best performance, but had a good time. So good on him.
Who's the better poker player?
He hasn't played as much poker, so I'd say me.
Okay, right, there you go. Because they were the only two things I would probably think would be good. I'd probably pick the same that you would have done. Again, because I don't know what Jez does. Who's better at beer pong?
Oh, we haven't played a great deal. Jez he's actually pretty good at those. What would you call it? Games of skill,
Parlour games?
suppose. Yeah, he's pretty good at those things, so I might give that to him.
Okay. Who's better at being a general housekeeper, keeping the house in order?
Definitely Jez. He's we are chalk and cheese. He's anally clean, and he's very organised, which I am. I'm not too bad, but I'm not to the level that he's at in terms of being cleanliness and organisation.
And the last one, who's the most pickiest when it comes to drinking drinks, as in alcoholic variety?
Who's the most picky?
Who's the most pickiest? Like, say, I don't like drinking that, don't like drinking that. Who's the pickiest?
Oh. No, I'd have to say him. Not that he's overly picky, but see, I'll drink anything. Jen, see, you go to his house. He's got export. He's got he's got Corona. He's got Captain Morgan's. He's got a good selection. He's not overly picky himself.
So it'd be a draw by default that neither one.
Yeah, no, we both love a drink.
Beautiful. Alrighty, mate. Well, we'll finish it up here because we've got to a time again. It seems that
record time, million and two, an hour and three.
Yeah, well, I got there about there, but that's not including the recording, I guess, with the start of us chatting about how it's going. But anyway, how the whole thing's going to play out. But look, brilliant to have you on board, mate. I'm going to finish up with two last hypotheticals. Toughest player you've ever played alongside with, that hypothetical, you're stuck in a melee, you're going to get absolutely shit-axed. There's just players from the opposition all around you. They all want your blood. Who's going to be there to fight alongside you? Who would you like to be having fighting alongside you?
Current player, I'd say the big fella JJ. Past player, I'd say Ebo.
Oh, good choice. Very good choice.
Yes, he's an animal.
Yeah. Well, look.
Well, he would stick up for you to no end. Put it that way.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I mentioned I played alongside him for a season in Dalwallinu when his brother Shane was coaching us. He was playing for the Delhi Bulldogs for a few seasons, and he got his brother up. And very, very. I mean, he's an exceptionally good played in the forward line, exceptionally good player. But my goodness, intimidation, and certainly not just bark. A lot of bite to it. If he needed to use it, he would be happy to use it. So,
yeah, absolutely. That style of gameplay is he's lost. But I remember seeing him more than playing with him. Yeah. But he was an imposing player, that's for sure.
Mm. And last of all, mate, look, let's just hope it's not anytime soon. But mate, let's just say, and maybe it never happens. Some players never say, "I will decide now that I'm going to retire." It's just fading. I'll just fade out. But if you did have a day where you said, "This will be my last game. It's done. It's official," who would you have cheering you off the ground?
I would say Eddie and Fraggers, because they're the older crop, and they're both really good mates from playing down the club for a long time. I've got a lot of respect for both of them. I've got a lot of respect for all the boys down there. That's why I keep coming back. But they're two of my really good mates down there. So I'd be more than happy to. I'd feel privileged to have them carry me off.
Beautiful, mate. Well, that's it, Damo. Thank you very much for your time, mate. That's a great way to wrap up. Yet another. I think it's our fourth one we've done for From the House of the Holy, and it's been a very, very good one, mate. So much appreciated.
No, thank you, mate, and I appreciate you taking the time. It's sorry we couldn't have Tills here, but he would have added another element. But hopefully, it was probably a little bit more serious than some of the others. But hopefully, there's a bit of laughs in there for the listeners.
Well, that's it. That's it. Tills does add some very good colour there, but I hope he's resting up well. He has. He did go to the Killers last night, and he said he was very, very under the weather today. So, Tills, hope you get well soon, mate, and get you back on board next week. Damo, to you, mate, thank you very much for having you on board, mate. It's been an absolute treat having you on. It's very, very good of you to do that for us.
No worries, mate. Thank you. And once again, you're doing an amazing job, mate. You have a good night.
No worries. And to our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Much appreciated having you on board. Again, if you have any ideas who you would like to listen on this podcast, any questions you'd like to ask, any things you would like us to discuss, please put in the comments below, any of the comments that you have. We have it posted on our Facebook, both our club's Facebooks there. So please let us know what you would like to hear. We have had some requests. Gav Bailey, quick shout out to you, mate. We'll try to get Wade Tassif, Shane Green. Be good to get a past player on the podcast to see what's going, just to appeal to everyone else. For the rest of you guys, look, as we said, it's a home game, this game. It's a great game. We've got two big milestone games for two very, very good players, good clubmen. Come down, be a part of the club. As I say, it is your club. Whether you've played or not, it is your club. Be a part of the community. Come down and be a part of it. Damo, good night from you, mate. Good night from me. And guys, good luck to the Saints and good luck this weekend.